You think you're finally free of HOA madness the day you trade suburbia for a peaceful ranch life. But let me tell you, that peace didn't last. The mess that started with a 73-year-old HOA president trying to get me arrested for kayaking on my own lake spiraled into a 3-year headache I never saw coming. And if you believe karma takes her time, sometimes she shows up in a golf cart wearing head-to-toe beige. It all kicked off on one of those mornings that make you feel like you've made the right life decision. Sunlight breaking through mist over quiet water, the kind of silence you move to the country for. I just bought my 50-acre ranch 3 days earlier, fresh off 15 years of battling over petty HOA rules like mailbox placement and lawn length. That morning, I even posted a picture of the sunrise with the caption, "Goodbye HOA life for good." Apparently, that message didn't make it to Eleanor Vance, president of the Evergreen Estates HOA. 73, full of self-importance, and armed with more attitude than authority. She came tearing out of the fog in a golf cart going faster than gravity should have allowed. She hopped out in a fully beige getup, waving a laminated badge like she was with federal law enforcement, shouting before I could even say hello. "Stop right there," she yelled. I paused, amused more than anything, and asked politely, "Can I help you?" Without missing a beat, she launched into a rant claiming I was trespassing on community property. For a second, I honestly thought maybe I'd ended up on the wrong piece of land. I calmly replied, "Ma'am, this is my land. You're standing on it." She flushed an impressive range of red before whipping out her phone, calling 911, and screaming into it about a dangerous man trespassing with a weapon. The weapon was, of course, my kayak paddle. As she paced between me and the lake, muttering about respecting community space, I sat on a nearby rock and ate a turkey sandwich, mostly waiting for the show to end. Somewhere in there, I casually commented, "That's a nice dock your HOA's got." She puffed up proudly, saying her late husband designed it, and called it the pride of Evergreen Estates. That's when I noticed something odd. That dock extended quite a bit into my lake. Sirens cut the conversation short as Sheriff Brody arrived, the same guy who handled my property purchase. He got out, spotted Eleanor, and sighed like he'd been through this exact routine before. Eleanor started her performance again, accusing me of trying to steal their lake and threatening her with my weapon. Brody looked at me and said, "Didn't you just buy this whole place?" I nodded. His answer to Eleanor was calm but final. "Ma'am, this is Mr. Hayes's property. All of it. 50 acres. Including the lake." Eleanor's face fell so fast it was almost art. She quickly shifted tactics, claiming the HOA had easement rights. I told her I'd asked about easements before signing, and there weren't any. That's when she stormed off again, warning me her nephew was a lawyer and she wasn't done yet. Brody stuck around for a bit and muttered, "She's called us out here 47 times in 2 years. Just a heads up." Later that day, I finally took the kayak out, but that dock stuck in my mind. It was too close to my boundary line. Next morning, as I'm enjoying coffee on the porch, here comes a whole parade of golf carts. Eleanor up front, flags flying, flanked by the HOA board in matching shirts like they were heading into battle. Eleanor stepped forward with a folder full of documents, claiming they had proof the lake belonged to them. I offered her some coffee, which threw her off. "I don't drink with trespassers," she snapped. One of the others, Margaret, whispered, "Maybe we should." But Eleanor was on a warpath. Before things could escalate, Sheriff Brody showed up again. Eleanor immediately claimed I was threatening them. Brody told her flat out that abusing 911 over this kind of nonsense could get her in trouble. Margaret's husband Harold tried to de-escalate, but Eleanor wasn't hearing it. Any disagreement, she said, was disrespect to her late husband, Arthur. Brody pulled up the official records again, confirming the land and lake were entirely mine. Eleanor's response? Tears. She started sobbing, accusing me of stealing her memories. I almost felt bad until I realized she was using her grief as a weapon. As the board left, Harold leaned in and quietly admitted that Arthur never surveyed anything in his life. He was an accountant. Then, fate handed me a gift. I found a page from Eleanor's folder, something she dropped during her dramatic exit. It was a survey map obviously drawn with basic software, dated 3 days ago, and labeling the lake as community property. So not only was she lying, she was fabricating evidence. I snapped a photo, showed it to Brody, who stayed behind and said, "You should probably look into those dock permits. Something's fishy." That night, I did just that. I dug through old documents, blogs, complaints. Turns out, Eleanor had a long history of driving neighbors out with similar antics. And surprise, there was no record of any permits for that dock. Next morning, I called in an old friend from college, Mike Patterson, now a surveyor. Turns out he already knew Eleanor and couldn't stand her. Apparently, she once tried to sue him for malicious surveying. He showed up laughing and ready to work, telling me, "She's the final boss of HOAs." And just like that, the real battle began. The dock extended 35 feet onto my land. Completely illegal. No permits, no right-of-way, nothing. And as if that wasn't enough, the HOA had been siphoning water from my lake to irrigate their communal landscaping. Also illegal. Thankfully, Mike had the proof. Together, we began to build a case. Satellite imagery revealed the dock didn't just appear overnight. It grew, piece by piece, over several years. Classic case of a quiet land grab. Mike uploaded all the evidence, photos, documents, timestamps, to a shared folder for my attorney. He warned me, "Eleanor doesn't back down. You're not the first. 3 other neighbors raised the issue before. 1 moved away, 1 had their cameras vandalized, and 1 even lost a dog under suspicious circumstances." As we were wrapping up, Mike looked me dead in the eye and said, "You better lawyer up. This one's headed to court." Sure enough, the very next day, I received a cease and desist letter from Eleanor's nephew, who conveniently was also her attorney. The letter was pure theater, claiming I was emotionally harassing a grieving widow and demanding I stay off my own lake. I ignored it. But then Jim, my other neighbor, texted me a link. Eleanor had posted my photo on the HOA's Facebook page, calling me a dangerous anti-HOA extremist. But the tide turned quickly. Someone in the comments posted a county zoning map clearly showing the lake belonged to me. The drama went public fast. I skipped the social media circus and went straight to the county office. Brenda, the clerk, was already a step ahead. She'd pulled every permit related to the estates. Sure enough, there was a permit denial from years ago, signed by Eleanor's late husband, Arthur Vance. The rejection clearly stated, "Structure cannot be built on private property." And as if that wasn't enough, the contractor, Sunset Marine, wasn't even licensed for dock construction. Digging deeper, we found a $50,000 withdrawal from the HOA's lake maintenance fund. Eleanor paid $30,000 in cash for the dock. The remaining $20,000? Gone. Likely pocketed. Brenda lowered her voice and told me this wasn't Eleanor's first rodeo. She had a history of lawsuits, mysteriously shifting property lines, and vandalized security equipment. Later that night, I got an email from Eleanor. "Remove your kayak or we'll release information about your background." That was the final straw. I sent it straight to my lawyer. Tom Anderson took one look and said, "That's extortion." He called it a slam dunk. We issued a formal notice to the HOA. Remove the dock immediately or face legal action. We also informed every homeowner that they might be liable for damages. Within 24 hours, the Evergreen Estates Facebook group exploded. 3 board members quit. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Neighbors apologizing, board members asking to talk. Harold, one of them, admitted they had no idea Eleanor had been forging documents. Meanwhile, Mike called again. Eleanor had tried to pay his cousin $20,000 to backdate a permit and fake construction records. He recorded the whole conversation. Armed with everything, Tom sent a final warning to the HOA board. Try introducing new documents, and you'll be facing criminal charges. When the next HOA meeting rolled around, I showed up with Tom, my laptop, a projector, and printed copies of everything. Sheriff Brody stood by the door just in case. The place was packed. Word had spread. I walked the room through the evidence, satellite photos, rejected permits, survey reports, and contractor details. Then I played the audio recording of Eleanor trying to bribe someone. Chaos erupted. Homeowners demanded refunds. Someone did the math. over $250,000 in damages and possible fines. Eleanor started shouting, blaming me for the community's downfall. But then Margaret, the soft-spoken board member, stood up and calmly pointed out the obvious. Arthur died in 2018. The dock was built in 2020. That was the end. The board voted Eleanor out. Sheriff Brody collected all the evidence for the district attorney. 6 weeks later, I was back on the lake, paddling peacefully and recording a new video for my YouTube channel, HOA Horror Stories. The illegal dock was gone. Eleanor's house was up for sale. She'd skipped town to Florida. The new board issued a formal apology, discovered $75,000 in missing funds, and even offered to cover the cost of a new land survey. My neighbors finally got their money back. As I drifted past the old dock pilings, camera rolling, I couldn't help but smile. Do I feel bad? Not even a little. Property lines don't lie. But HOAs? They do. If there's one thing you should take from this story, it's this. Always verify permits, never let anyone walk over you, and never underestimate the power of receipts. Got your own HOA nightmare? Drop it in the comments. I'm listening.